Hello, everyone, and welcome to Capes, Cowls and Masks, the show where we uncover the world of soups and science fiction. I'm your host, Jake Hart. I'm a podcaster, a sound designer, and a writer for Fresh Take Hub. And as always, I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hello, it's Tom Gapper here, podcaster and resident comic book shogun. Excited to dive into all the wonderful news we have this week. It's mostly clips and trailers, but there's a lot of mileage we can get out of them, especially one certain one that we'll get to later.
Oh yes. And that particular story, our main story today, is, of course, the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. And I've been getting little hints throughout the weeks about when it's going to drop and stuff. But that person here in this room with us today is Stefanos Florakis. Thank you for coming back, Stefanos. We had such a great time having you on doing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. So we're happy to have you back.
Hello, Peter. It's good to be here. I've been waiting for this for quite some time. And yeah, I am here. I am queer and I'm ready to speak about everything about Spider-Verse. And we're not going to go to Mephisto level, but we are going to go to...
There's a devil in there. There was a devil in there.
There was. I mean, we can never truly rule out Mephisto. He's always going to be there.
That's the thing. Since WandaVision, now whenever there's just any element of a devil, everyone's just like, Mephisto.
Yeah, happening low-key. They literally just had one image of a devil and everyone's like, there it is.
Yeah, everyone's like, no, stop. Let's not do this again.
Remember China. They don't like the devil. They're not ready for it.
Then no, absolutely not ready for that. So, as you judge, this is our weekly news show. We're going to be breaking down all the big topics. As we mentioned, the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, the Eternals trailer, Shang-Chi clips, lots of stuff to get into. But before we get into all of that, Steph, how are you, man? How have you been? What have you been watching? What have you been up to?
I've been well. This summer has been a bit with ups and downs. A lot of stuff about the cinematic experience that I have a lot of issues with, as you both have discussed before. So, but beyond that, I've been very well. Been watching a lot of films, a lot of shows, and even though I haven't been doing a lot of writing work for Film Hub for the First Take, but I've been trying to get everything together, and always excited to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you back. Tom, how about yourself? What have you been up to this last week then?
Just more of the usual. For some inexplicable reason, I decided to rewatch The Walking Dead. I don't know why. It just came to me. Just started watching it. Finished season 1, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's still pretty cool. But I'm still just like sat there watching it, going, why did I choose this? Why? But whatever, I'm enjoying it. Finished Absolute Carnage in my Mammoth Marvel read-through, so I'm pretty much done. I'm pretty much caught up now. The exception of like a handful of series, so like I can just
how do you feel?
I feel good because it means I can focus now on just like my weeklies really, and moving over to my next massive read through of DC. I don't know where I'm going to start yet, but it's probably going to be something stupidly optimistic.
I'd say start with Crisis.
I mean, that's usually where I start. I start with I start with Crisis. I usually read some of the other crises that happens beforehand. Like, you got to start with Flash of Two Worlds to really begin the whole multiverse concept. So you got to do that first. But yeah, that's my next plan when I can bring myself to do it, because it's a lot, but it's rewarding work, and I do it for you, listeners. I do it for you.
Like, did you watch The Walking Dead beforehand?
I did. I stopped. I mean, spoiler alert. I stopped after like Negan showed up and ganked. I think it was like Abraham and Glenn. And it wasn't that I was like unhappy with their deaths like some people were. I was kind of just like, at this point, I was like, I'm kind of tired. It's just the same thing season after season. I did used to enjoy it up until that point, but I think that was the point where I was just like, it's not gripping me anymore. And then I heard they killed off Carl at some point, and I'm just like, right, did they not read the comics? It's kind of essential that he survives. But whatever. They did go off the comics like years ago, so it's... But yeah.
Hey man, Kirkman can do what he wants.
He can. I might honestly, I might just like get up to the end of like season 5 or 6 and then just like stop there.
I mean, to be fair, I am the only one that I know that still watches it. And it's not even. I think I just watch it. I would keep going because I always have this small dose of hope that maybe at some point it will improve, and it did. Actually, it actually did. I do. I am a big fan of the last two seasons, but you need to go through season 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Which is garbage.
It was kind of like that with me for Supernatural. I got to a point where I was like, I'm only watching this out of loyalty and the vain hope that it gets better again. And then it did, but then it got worse again.
I thing is, I was like that with the CW and the CW DC universe. I was like, I'm just going to keep going because, out of loyalty for these characters and stuff like that. And then I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Thing is, I had to keep going with CW because I called it years and years ago, like before The Flash even started, I called it that they were going to eventually do Crisis on Infinite Earths. As soon as they basically sneakily put in Harbinger in there, I was like, okay, this is happening. So I kept myself watching because then when The Flash confirmed it was eventually going to happen, I was like, well, I have to see this. And I have to watch all the shows so I can understand it and love it. Then as soon as Crisis was done, I was like, I don't care about this universe anymore.
No.
But Superman and Lois is actually really good. I didn't say that.
I haven't seen that yet, so I can't comment.
It looks really good according to the trailers. Like it looks different to the rest of the CW stuff.
I think what put me off it is that certain fans used it as an opportunity to maybe bash Henry Cavill and Man of Steel and stuff like that and go, see, this is the type of Superman, and that's not on the show. That's on me. Do you know what I mean? For me, just getting salty about certain fans, shitting on my favorite, version of Superman personally. So that's why. But I will check it out at some point. I will check it out because the little bit of Tyler Hoechlin as Superman I saw in the Supergirl series, I did enjoy him as Superman, so I'll check it out. I've also reading for the first time, The Invisible Man.
Oh, how's that?
I know. It's not what I expected, actually. It's an interesting, it was written in the 1800s, 1897, so I do think it's, apart from maybe the Bible, it's the oldest book I've ever read. So some of the language is a bit tougher to get through, if you know what I mean, but it is still a very gripping story, and I can see how it spawned what the Invisible Man can be, judging from, was it last year? Yeah, last year's new take on the Invisible Man is so different to the original book, but I'm like, in a way, the Invisible Man is perfect as a catalyst to portray certain themes about power and abuse and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting read. I highly recommend it. I was like, oh yeah, I've never actually read this.
Yes, I'll put it on the list.
Put it on the list. The ever-growing list of things to read. So, right, let's get into our news then.
Tear up page 1, run that photo instead. Headline: Spider-Man, hero or menace? Exclusive Daily Bugle photo.
Okay, so we're going to start up with, we got some new clips from Marvel for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The first of which proves Simu Liu can fight, and fight he does. Second clip is a nice little fight on that scaffolding that we saw in the trailers. So Marvel has released these clips for the upcoming film, which is coming to theaters on September 3rd. So I watched the clips. I loved them, especially the Can This Man Fight one, or whatever it was called. I thought the bus fight scene was amazing. Had nice bits of humor in there as well. And just the action looks great. It looks absolutely fantastic. But I'll go to you first, Steph. What did you think of the clips? Did you have a favorite one? And are you hyped for this film?
I am. I actually am. I've been hyped very early on when they made the announcement back then, where no one had any idea what this thing will be. In fairness, I was excited because of Tony Leung as the Mandarin, because I'm a huge Hong Kong cinema fan, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been having a crush on him for a very long time, and I look at him here in the trailers with the ring still being a badass, and I'm like, yes, daddy. But as for the clips, I like them. Again, I'm not particularly a person who enjoys watching clips, mainly because they're kind of to me, they feel like out of order. It feels like someone just took a piece of a complete work and just showing to me with no any particular context. And for me, I don't always enjoy it. With that said, I really, really liked the bus scene. And it's the one I prefer the most because it is the one that I feel like a proper rhythm to it. Like it feels like it is the first sample of a song. It's you're getting like the early bits, and then as we keep going on, we're starting finding the bit and starting to have a small part of the melody, and you're like, oh yeah, I can see where this is going, and this is well done. Although I do want to say the comedy, even though it's good, it's not bad comedy. It's the textbook MCU comedy we have been having for over a decade now. But I do need to say that I do think it's going to be a bit off-putting to me when I watch the film, because I see all these influences of Hong Kong cinema and suddenly American humor, which I'm like, okay, it feels a bit off because there is like comedy within Hong Kong cinema, but it's always far more physical comedy and expressionistic, especially on face expressions. Like look at Jackie Chan, and you can tell easily at which point he wants to be serious and which point he wants to be comedic, and just from the movement of his whole body and face. But this one, it's the quips, good quips, but we'll see. Beyond that, I am very excited, and based on what we've heard from reactions and reviews, apparently they're not even the best fighting scenes in the film, so that is like makes me more excited.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I mean, if that isn't like the best of what we're getting in the film, which makes sense, don't show us the best in like small clips, because I'm kind of the same as you, Steph. I don't usually like watching these small clips, but I have to for the show because Jake makes me. So, Jake, speaking of you, what did you think of the clips? And are you more hyped for the film, less hyped for the film? And yeah, so what do you think?
I am definitely more hyped for the film. And I just want to put a little caveat. I don't like watching these clips either. Unfortunately, we do a superhero podcast where we have to be up to date with all the news, so we do have to cover
Society makes us.
Society. Yeah, we live in a society, I guess.
Is the industry, the all evil industry that we've been dishing for 2 weeks now.
Consume content, consume. Yeah, I loved both of these clips. Like you guys, I preferred the bus clip. That was a particular highlight for me. And the main question mark I had going into this film was that I've spoken about ad nauseum on the show about, like you, Steph, I'm a big fan of Hong Kong cinema, martial arts movies. The question mark I had going in was, how are they going to do the action in this film? Because rightly so, some people have complained that some of the action in a lot of the MCU movies is a bit generic and not that exciting, apart from maybe a few exceptions like the Winter Soldier and stuff like that. But if you're going to do a film homaging Hong Kong cinema and these martial art films, you need to nail the action. And I got the first, tick I got was from the audience reactions after the premiere. They were saying the action kills it. I was like, okay, thank you. But to actually see it in these clips, to see the choreography, to see the rhythm, to see the fluidness of these fight scenes, the fact that they're actually, holding the camera in frame for a lot of movements. You're not having all this choppy editing that you get with a lot of Hollywood cinema and a lot of action. Snake eyes, but let's not get into that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're actually seeing Simu Liu and the stunt doubles perform these fights and feel the rhythm and intensity of these punches and kicks. And it's just awesome. I just love it. And the music going along with it as well, I just love that it gives it this attitude to the fight, that it's like, okay, I'm here now. Shang-Chi is unveiled. This is me. So yeah, I'm really a big fan, and I do agree with you, Steph. I didn't know if you were going to bring it up, but I was going to bring up the comedy. When I was watching, I was like, this sort of takes me out of the fights. And we're watching a couple of these awesome moves through a phone camera. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. But in a clip, I can understand why it's taking me out. In the context of the film, as the film's rolling with the pacing, I might enjoy it a lot more. Like there's been, funny moments in trailers and stuff where I've gone, okay, that's funny, but not ha-ha. And then in the film, I've laughed a lot more seeing it in the cinema. So, yeah, it definitely hypes me up a lot more. Super excited to see this film. And not long now, not long.
September 3rd. That's like next weekend.
That is next weekend,
God.
guys. And we will be reviewing the film, of course, and we will be bringing back Stefanos to review it with us.
And hopefully I'll have a Shang-Chi poster to add to my amazing poster collection of 2 posters.
Oh, yeah, you need to try and get an IMAX one like you did for Black Mirror.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll try and get that. All right, so we'll go into our next story of the week, and that is Aquaman 2. So the director of Aquaman 2, James Wan, has been doing some promotion lately for his latest film coming out, Malignant, I think it is, which is going to be premiering in cinemas and unfortunately also on HBO Max. But nevertheless, I'm excited to watch that film. So he was talking to Total Film, and he's revealed in this interview that the story for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has drawn heavily inspiration from an influential campy 60s Italian science fiction horror film called Planet of the Vampires. One who also hinted at the horrors of the underwater worlds that we saw in the first Aquaman movie. He says that he believes that fans will be more receptive to exploring the darker underbelly of the sea in the upcoming sequel. And this is what he had to say. Quote, "Well, the first movie took a lot of people by surprise, right? And that's partially because they were not familiar with the comic book, which deals in this very lurid, strange world. People were taken aback that I didn't throw all the stuff away and make a dark, heavy film. But I didn't feel that would have been right for it. So with the second film, I feel it will be easier for people to accept where we go because I've already laid the foundation." So, Steph, I'll go to you first on what your thoughts on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and Juan's comments.
Let's start with Juan's comments. First of all, I need to say I'm a fan. I really like the guy. Even though I didn't love or even liked all his films, I could always say, at least I know what he was doing. At least I know, I appreciate all the technical achievements and all that. Okay, but what he says about people who weren't familiar with the comics and the world and yada yada yada, and I'm like, bitch, I know this world. I've read this world, and I still didn't like the film. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, no disrespect. But beyond that, I understand where he was coming from. It's not an easy IP to sell to a mainstream audience, and I was extremely surprised at how well it did. But as for his Planet of the Vampires, which even okay, this is the area which I'm like, my expertise have a limit. Like, I know what he's referring to, but it's not like I willingly have seen them. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, Planet of the Vampires, yeah, now it's in the watch list. I'm gonna try to watch it next week. But beyond that, but I think I know what he means, because the fact of, I think he tries to go with a mixture of campiness, but also grand, epic Lovecraftian creatures, which, yeah, to be honest, out of the first film, my favorite part was the rift. It was the all the monsters, and when they went into the portal thingy, the center of the earth or whatever, to pick up Nicole Kidman and her triad. Yeah, that's the one. All that sequence, brilliant. That was my favorite part. And if there's more of this in the sequel, I'm in. Will be so in, because I think the best parts of the first film were the more horror-oriented but also campy stuff than the rest. And also based on what Yahya Abdul-Mateen II said about the script, about his character getting more of a, character arc. It's, and especially Black Mamba, who is such... Let's be honest, he looks stupid. But Yahya did manage to actually make him more, interesting.
He made it work somehow.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, so if those two comments are for real, I am looking forward to it. but again, don't know because it's a very weird film, the first film, and ever since then there's been so many different issues about it that, in fairness, not the film directly, but as said specific people in the film. I don't want to mention them, but yeah. Besides that, although I do have to say, this really sounds like what Taika Waititi has been saying about the next Thor film, like saying that the next the Love and Thunder goes like bonkers, like goes too wild, and I'm like, okay, I like how it sounds like suddenly these directors who did a quote unquote safer superhero films, but now they're gonna be themselves. That excites me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm also a fan of James Wan. I've liked most of his horror films, I would say, particularly The Conjurings. I'm a big fan of. His technical ability, as you mentioned, Stefanos, is incredible. He's just got such a visual flair to him that I love. And yeah, look, I've been on record saying that it's not the greatest film in the world, but I enjoy Aquaman because it embraces the campiness and it's over the top and you got an octopus playing drums. You know, I've said all this before. I love all that element of it. So if one is saying that he's going to look at these campy 60s science fiction horror movies for inspiration, I'm like, yes, awesome. Please keep doing that. Please dig into the roots of these pulpy, weird, B movies, essentially, that are just, got such a niche market, but that cult following is so strong about these movies. So if he's going to bring that element to it and have a lot of fun with that, I'm happy for that. However, though, unlike you, Steph, I'm not huge on going too horror with it. I think you can have horror in terms of aesthetic with all these weird creatures and all that, but careful with how deep you go with the horror, I say. So yes, if he wants to have a darker film, and normally if you're making a trilogy, the second is always it's a darker tale. Have a darker tale, but don't make it too horror. For me, I still think keep the fun, adventurous, swashbuckling, campy element of Aquaman your main focus. Because he's so different to any other, character in the DC lineup at the minute. Like, I don't feel as if any of the other projects that DC have fulfilled that sort of adventure element. But that's just me anyway. Tom, what do you think of James Wan's comments?
I gotta be honest. I'm kind of in the same position as Jake, where I enjoyed the first Aquaman film, but I would never call it like the best comic book movie ever. But, any movie that can make Black Manta actually work on screen deserves credit. So I will give it that. I gotta be honest, nothing he says is making me more hyped for the film. And when we spoke about the title reveal, I was already kind of on the fence, thinking it just sounds like a crappy B movie title. Now we're seeing his inspiration. I'm kind of like, well, that's that bit of vindication for me. I mean, yeah, I did love the whole campy aspect of the first Aquaman film, the fact that they did lean into kind of the ridiculousness of it. So I do worry that, as you said, Jake, they may try and go too horror in the second one. I mean, yes, it is traditional in trilogies that the second film is always a bit darker, but I don't want him to lean into it too much because I think that'll take away from what made the first film as successful as it was. Because I will give it to him in one of his comments that the film was more successful than at least I thought it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to flop or anything, but I didn't think it was going to make as much money as it was going to make. And the fact that at the time, it was really, really rare for a DC film to get positive reviews. So just seeing that, I was like, wow, this is incredible. But yeah, I'm not totally... Because, I've always liked Aquaman more than, most people, but I don't like him as much as some people. Simple fact is Namor is a much more compelling underwater king, but I won't get into that. So I'm as excited for this film as I can be. His comments don't really do anything to, lessen my hype or, raise my hype. I'm just like, well, at this point... I think I need to see a trailer or some stills or whatever just so I can get a better understanding of what he's going for this film. Because at the moment it sounds like he's trying to mix too many ideas in, which, as I said, I think I just need to see some visual evidence of what his plan is and what the tone of the film is going to be before I can make a proper judgment on whether I'm hyped for it. Still going to see it, but...
we still got a while to wait before we even get any, like you said, Tom, any visual element to this film. It's going to be a while. But what's our next story then, Tom?
What's our next story? It's the only story that matters apart from the main story, which I guess is another story that matters. But first up is a new Eternals trailer. And oh my God, was it beautiful. So it reveals the epic scope of Chloe Zhao's MCU movie. Oscar-winning director Zhao helms the upcoming Phase 4 Marvel movie, which features an absolute bevy of A-list stars, including Gemma Chan as Cersei, Richard Madden as Icarus, Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo, Lauren Ridolph as Makari, Brian Tyree Henry as Fastos, Salma Hayek as Ajak, Leah McHugh as Sprite, Don Lee as Gilgamesh, and Barry Keoghan as Druig, and also Kit Harington, of course, as Dane Whitman, and Angelina Jolie as Thena. That's just like a stacked cast list to begin with, and then you look at the trailer and just, it doesn't feel like an MCU movie at all. And like, I hate to make this comparison, but it kind of feels like to the MCU what Superman and Lois is to the CW verse, where you're just looking at it and going, this is the same studio people making this? How is this even possible? It just looks absolutely beautiful, and the scope of it as well, just, we're talking like galactic eating beings, celestials are coming. It's just, it's too big for my mind alone to comprehend. So Stefan, you first. What did you think of the trailer? Any thoughts, any theories? Are you hyped?
Similarly to Shang-Chi, that was another one which I was extremely excited when they announced it. Not because of the IP, because I have no fucking clue.
No one does. It's okay. You're not alone. Barely anyone does.
But for me, it was mainly because, besides this, like you already said, the cast is not only like great talent, it's also like a great mixture of talents. Is the literally are from almost anywhere you would have known them from, like from TV and from films. But mainly was for Chloe Zhao, and that was before No Man Land, because at that point I had seen her earlier films, and I once they made the announcement that she's gonna make an MCU film. That was, for me, was like, this will be just another generic MCU film, or it's gonna be something different and new. And this trailer once again proved that to me, and it like I said, it feels so unique. It feels something like you could watch on its own, which again, I do think the MCU have done a good job so far, but it's still like there were some hits in there which I'm like, well, I don't think like someone who has seen this for the first time will understand this reference or that. I mean, sure, they do talk about Thanos, but it does feel far more as weird analogy, but it feels like almost something of a mythos or lore. Like it's like an epic fantasy that you just drop into the moment, and they do say that something happened, but it doesn't matter. It's just part of its history, and that's how I felt. And like I said to Jake, like immediately after watching it, I felt like this was Lord of the Rings, but as a comic book film, and then but also surprisingly looks a bit similar to Dune, but I think that's because both films, very distinctive filmmakers, and they both were shot in locations. So I think that is a biggie with these kind of films. But beyond that, I'm more ecstatic about it. And I'm glad that more people are watching this and were like, okay, I think I will go to the cinema. And I'm happy so far Disney hasn't done the thingy with the Premier Access. Because if they had done that, then there would be a different story.
I will say hold your breath on that one, because Jake, if you remember, I shared in the group the other day, I think it was from the Shang-Chi premiere, Kevin Feige said something which it was basically Feige speak for, it's a possibility we may have to change how Eternals releases. So hold your breath on that one. Nothing confirmed. Act for now that it's coming out in cinemas, not on Premier Access when they've said it is. But I think we got to prepare as well for some bad news on that front.
Because the thing is with this film, because if it happens, I'd be like, what the hell? Why is there another female-led film from Disney on Premier Access? Like, why is that happening again? And also, if there's anything else, the Free Guy is proving right now is the fact that this new IP that usually comes out of nowhere, if it is exclusively in cinemas, actually makes some money. Like, who would have thought about that? But yeah, but beyond that, I'm very, very ecstatic about this. It has become like my third most anticipated film of the year. And yeah, be there the first day because I have hopes and based on some insiders I've heard, there is actually some talk for award campaigning for the film. So we'll see.
I mean, this is what I've been thinking, like, since they announced Zhao was going to be on the project and I started seeing the first, like, stills and, like, the first trailer came out. I was thinking, like, is this Marvel, like, really, really attempting to get, like, one of the top Oscars or something? So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm definitely very excited for it. It looks beautiful. And going off what you said as well, I do agree with you, like, with the whole Thanos thing and it being more just, like, mythos or like background lore. I think we are at a stage now where even if someone has never watched Infinity War or Endgame, they know of Thanos and they know that this whole thing was like he was taking over the universe or wiping out half the life of the universe. So you can just drop that into the film without having to do like huge amounts of exposition. Like when people hear Thanos, they'll just go, oh yeah, he's the guy who almost wiped out like half the universe in like those other films. So I think it is going to be one of the MCU films that can definitely stand on its own the most just because of how unique it looks. But I also hope that that doesn't result in us maybe like never seeing these characters outside of like an Eternal series. I would like to see some more of them in some other films. But Jake, what are your thoughts? I know you're hyped for this film and you were very excited in the chat the other day when the trailer dropped. So yeah, tell us how you feel.
Well, I feel as if Kevin Feige and team were like, right, let's make 2021 the year for Jake. Because, Jake, two of my favorite genres of film are, as we mentioned before, are Hong Kong cinema and martial arts movies. So they're like, oh, let's have Shang-Chi. So I'm so excited for that. And my next probably favorite genre is space fantasy epics. You know what I mean? Or fantasy epics in general. Lord of the Rings is my shit. You know what I mean? So this is just my jam. I like the first trailer, I got a sense of scale and epicness, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. This is new. This is different. But seeing this trailer and them talking about the story and seeing some of the action, seeing even more of the scope, some of these shots are just, my God, I had to pause on the trailer and be like, I want to get that printed and just have that in my room because some of these shots are fantastic. And Steph makes a really good point about why this trailer looks so different and fresh and new and unique to the MCU compared to some other trailer we'll speak about a little bit later, is because Chloe Zhao chose to shoot on location. And, unfortunately, a lot of MCU movies don't film on location as much as they should, we think. There's a lot of green screen and stuff like that. I point to that weird thing that I'm sure you saw that online of that in Black Widow, that conversation that Yelena was having with Natasha at that like place, when they were hiding out. I'm like, why on earth is that green screen? Like, you could have shot that anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And it would have saved you so much money on visual effects. But I digress. So this just looks epic in every way. Like, I don't know what else to say other what you guys said. The cast looks stacked. I can't wait for this. Like, it has shot up to like, yeah, I'm excited for this film. This looks really interesting too. This is now probably my most anticipated comic book movie after The Batman. Like, I'm just so stoked to see this film now. I cannot wait to see this. And this needs to be seen, for me anyway, my first viewing needs to be in IMAX. So if they're going to move it to Disney Plus, like Premier Access, I'm just like, no, man. You can't do that to people. The only thing I will allow is if they do the Shang-Chi, which is like 45 days, and then it goes on Disney Plus. I'll accept that because of the times we're in. But man, this film, just from the trailer, I'm like, I need to see this trailer in IMAX. This just looks fucking insane. This is just my jam all the way. So I'm so excited. I don't know if you guessed that, but Yes.
Oh, we guessed it.
And a couple other things, like, first of all, fucking Celestials. My God. That, like, finally we're getting the Celestials in the MCU, and what a glorious shot that was. I saw everyone, loads of people online were like, Galactus! It's like, no.
He's not a Celestial, but whatever.
No.
But can I say the theory I have?
Oh, okay. Am I gonna like this? Let's
Okay.
find out.
I don't think you will, because it is a rewrite.
Go on.
What if they do actually show Galactus and they kind of say that he was a Celestial, but actually he became the lead, like the leader entity of the Deviants?
I am actually not opposed to that. I kind of like it.
I'm quite opposed to it for many reasons. For many reasons, but
or if not that, because I was thinking, right? I was thinking like, which would be the best moment to introduce Galactus in a Thanos way at the first Avengers? Like, which one would be the best moment, and what would be the film that is directly connected with the Celestials, and because of their rivalry and wars through all the comics, I thought it would have made more sense. And if not like a Celestial, like they could like have like and the post-credit scene, they have like, I don't know, whoever's gonna be the main villain, and they're gonna be like, if you challenge them, you will call death, and then you're gonna turn like, Galactus. You know?
I think you can still probably tease Galactus with it, because, as you said, Galactus and the Celestials do have a long history. They are, even though like Galactus isn't a Celestial, he's kind of tied into the, like, some parts of the canon. Like, he's basically the reason he eats planets, or one of the many reasons he eats planets, is to stop the Celestials from growing too much in number. So you can definitely like tease Galactus within the film, but honestly, my money is on them teasing mutants for the future of the MCU. I think I'm holding on to this hope that Eternals is like, I'm not expecting like a big revelation, like oh my god, here's Charles Xavier, but there'll be something, some little seed that we'll look back on later on and be like, that was actually telling us that the mutants are coming and the mutants are here. As I was saying to Jake, actually, my preferred way of doing it is when they're doing like the whole showing their history. They're in ancient Egypt, and you see a young Ensabar, also known as Apocalypse, and there you go. You've got your first mutant. He's already there in the history, and then it's just, they can just choose when to bring them in to the rest. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Here's one for you, Tom, as well. What is the emergence?
Off the top of my head, I can't really think. It just sounds like a... It just might be like a fancy term that they're using just for like the, I don't know whether you call it the coming of the Celestials, the rebirth of the Celestials. I don't know, maybe the Celestials have been locked away somewhere, and I think they said that because of the Infinity Gauntlet, they had enough energy to maybe like break out of that, to maybe come into the main. Because we do see like a Celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 when
The head.
yeah. Well, that, and also when the Collector's showing them the Power Stone. Well, when they show like how it works, that is a Celestial in there as well. So that could be it. Maybe they were locked away from the universe with the gauntlet, but then when the gauntlet was used multiple times and then destroyed, and just all that gamma energy just shooting off, maybe that allowed them to go, now we're back in the universe, and that's why the Eternals are like, fuck. That's my theory anyway. And then maybe that's how you tie Galactus into it, because he's just like, yeah, you could maybe have like a post-credit scene where just like you just see like this dashing like blur of silver, and then a Silver Surfer just like saying like, Master, the Celestials are back. They're in the universe, and then it's Galactus just being like, right, time to eat Earth. Maybe not like that.
You're just getting me more. I don't know, man. Hearing all this, I'm more excited by the prospect of all this cosmos stuff more than maybe mutants. I don't know. I just think it's...
Give us Living Tribunal, and then also give us Annihilus, so we can get a live action Annihilation going on. That's what I want.
Well, I actually did see a YouTube video that, the typical seeing all the Easter eggs or references and all that. And it did say that the emergence based on that of them. I don't know if it's legit because again, I know nothing about the Eternals. What it means is that there is something in the center of the earth, and I think it's the creation of another celestial being.
Oh, that is actually an aspect in the comics that I completely forgot about. Because I think, I can't remember the term for it. It's like a something egg. That's literally what it's called. That is like within the center of the earth, and like I think that's why it's theorized why there's a lot of shit like with so many superheroes on Earth is just because it is made along the egg of a fucking celestial.
Yeah, and the Eternals are there to protect the planet against the deviants so they won't corrupt the core or something like that. But yeah, that's what they said. I don't know if that's legit. Again, I don't know if there's something I want. It really depends on the film itself. Because, typically with everything comic book related, if you put it on paper in a certain way, it sounds ridiculous. But then puts sparkles and visual effects and, a Scottish accent, maybe works.
Judging from the trailers, it's working for me. I can tell you that. Mm-hmm. When is that? That comes out November 5th.
Yes. Remember, the 5th of November, Eternals finally comes out.
Awesome.
And hopefully in theaters, nowhere else. Yeah. Please God.
Burn off Disney Plus. Right, we're going to take a quick break then, and we'll be back for our main topic.
When Mysterio revealed my identity, my entire life got screwed up. I was wondering if maybe you could make it so that he never did.
Strange. Don't cast that spell. It's too dangerous. Fine. I won't.
The entire world is about to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Wait, everyone? Can't some people still know?
That's not how the spell works.
So MJ's gonna forget about everything we've ever been through?
Stop tampering with the spell.
Oh my God, Ned, he's my best friend. Oh, my Aunt May should really know.
Stop talking!
Okay, and we're back to cover our big main topic story, and it is a big one. Spider-Man No Way Home finally gets a trailer, and, this has been a trailer that I don't think has been sought after enough. I think for weeks, months now, people have been talking about when's this trailer going to drop? We're seeing all these trailers for all these upcoming projects, but nothing for Spidey, not even an image. Do you know what I mean? Nothing. Plenty of rumors, of course. But we finally get the trailer revealing all its glory. We get Doctor Strange in it. We get Multiverse Madness. And, of course, we get the reveal of Alfred Molina back as Dr. Octopus. So there is a lot of controversy as well surrounding the trailer getting leaked and people getting sacked at Sony and all of that sort of stuff that happened after... what was it? Was it CinemaCon? Sony CinemaCon, Steph? Yeah. So, Steph, I'll go to you first because, you were the guy who was like, hey, man, trailer's going to drop soon. Because we were all expecting this CinemaCon thing. But what did you think of the trailer, finally, that we have it?
Okay. I think I'm going to be the more positive one because okay, how do I begin with this? Okay, this is going to take a while. Sony sucks at promotional stuff. I say that from now. It's been known for years and years. They don't particularly know how to do good promotion, which is very weird because MCU, the Marvel Studios, is amazing at it. Like right now, we were talking about Shang-Chi and Eternals and how excited we are and all this shit. But here, as I say the good things, it does its work as a trailer by presenting the main conflict of the main hero, what initiates the main plot of the film, and hinting on some of the more supernatural elements and hints for the main villains. Does it do that? Absolutely. Is there fine music? Yes, there is, but it's literally the same tune that we've been hearing for 2 films in a row. Listen, I don't mind. Sometimes I do like repetition, and it is a banger, so I don't mind. Beyond that, I am not less excited. But mainly because I am a Spider-Man fan and I love the multiverse idea and all this shit. And yes, all the villains from the different films is the main reason I'm excited. Is it the kind of trailer that would what it did I feel exactly the same thing as I felt with the Eternals trailer? No, absolutely not. But I do think a part of it is my anticipation for it, plus how Sony sucks doing trailers. I'll start with that now, and then we'll continue for more details.
Okay, then. So, Tom, what are your initial reactions to the trailer, then?
I gotta be honest, I wasn't sold on it until about the last 10 seconds, which we'll go into in a second, so I'll start with the rest of the trailer. So, I always love seeing Doctor Strange. I love Benedict Cumberbatch. I love his Doctor Strange. If that is Doctor Strange, we'll go into that later as well. The humor with him and Wong, always love that. I just love their relationship in the MCU. It's great seeing that. And I did love the, as Jake said, classic MCU joke of just like, oh, please, Peter, we've saved half the universe together. You don't have to call me sir. Oh, okay then, Stephen. It's a little weird, but okay. I enjoyed that. I think it's mostly Benedict Cumberbatch's delivery of that line. It's just stellar. But then we dive into the aspects that I'm not too keen on. So the whole, like, I can understand Peter going like, oh, I need to make everyone forget that I am Spider-Man. There was clearly not a lot of planning into it because Strange was halfway into the spell before Spidey was just like, oh, yeah, there's actually a few people who should probably remember. So already we're delving into a trope that I don't like, which is like the heroes, like close ones, suddenly forgetting that they're the hero, just because I find it's a bit of a lazy trope. It's just like the classic thing of then having to go back and dance around the subject of them being Spider-Man, or them having to like come out with the truth straight away and they don't get the reaction that they expect. And just, I don't know, I'm just sick of it as a trope because it happens all the time in comic books. It also gives me bad memories of One More Day from the comics, which I won't go into because I could do a whole fucking 2-hour podcast on how much I hate that piece of shit comic. So yeah, I think that just, but with that whole Strange thing, I think I might like the aspect more if, as Dave is theorizing, he's maybe an imposter of some kind, maybe a Skrull, because Dave reckons there's 2 Strangers you see and hear in that trailer. I'm kind of coming more on that idea. What I do like is like all the very small teasers. So obviously you had like the very obvious tease of Green Goblin when the Goblin bomb rolled onto screen and you hear that cackle, which can only mean one thing. Right down to the... So it took me onto my second or third watch of the trailer before I noticed Lizard in there, which some people pointed out. There was a lot of electricity smashing off everywhere. There's clearly Electro. I've heard some people say that like one of the big storm things in there was a Sandman, whatever it's called. Sandman, that's the one, which, I would love. Lack of Vulture or Scorpion in the trailer, but I feel like Scorpion is inevitable, seeing as like the last time we saw him, he was begging for Peter's like Spider-Man's secret identity.
Oh, don't worry, they'll be in Morbius.
Oh yeah, of course they'll be in Morbius. But yeah, just like seeing that we're getting like a multiversal Sinister Six is kind of exciting, but like as I said, just from what I was seeing in the trailer, I don't know, it didn't hook me on its premise because like I'm still in the mindset of like, okay, so the spell went wrong. How does a spell that makes people forget he was Spider-Man can suddenly cause like a massive, huge shift in the multiverse? I think we will obviously get answers in the film, but just right now, based on that, I'm just like, well, how could that happen? That seems like a really bad side effect for that kind of spell. I grant you, Strange probably needed a lot of power to do that spell. It probably took a lot of complex work, but cracking open the multiverse seems like a weird side effect of that. So I think there's definitely more at play there, but I think it's something I need to see in context in the film. But in the trailer, it just, I don't know, things seemed off there. But then that last 10 seconds, so we see the Goblin bomb roll on. We hear the cackle, which must mean Willem Dafoe, a.k.a. the man who basically confirmed he's in the film, even though no one else has. He's basically confirmed it. And then, of course, just seeing the octopus arms appear, and then Alfred Molina there on screen with his, "Hey, Peter." That hit me with a wave of nostalgia. Just like based on that, I was just like, okay, I am now hyped Then I rewatched the trailer and I was like, oh, I'm not hyped. And now I'm hyped again because he's back. And then rewatched the trailer again, and it was a vicious cycle. So I don't know. I feel like with a few more trailers, and I think when I actually see the film in all its glory, I think I'll come out loving it. But just based off this trailer, it's not immediately grabbing me, especially compared to like Shang-Chi and Eternals. Like, you'd think this kind of film, which has got like Spider-Verse, Doctor Strange, would be right up my avenue of like top anticipated films. But the simple fact is, at the moment, it's not. And I think that is definitely, I think, an issue with Sony's marketing, because I should be sold on this already. I was kind of already sold on the premise, but now seeing the trailer, I'm somehow like less sold on it. I don't think that's a good thing for a trailer to do, really. But that might just be me, because everyone else seems to just be loving the whole Doc Ock of it all and just riding that wave of nostalgia. So it has done its job there. But just like looking at it and dissecting it, I really just need to know what's happening in this film. I need to know what the plot is, and the strange of it all, like whether there is an imposter there setting up for Secret Wars. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone, Tom, on this one, because I have similar views to you. I think the trailer was just fine. I guess, like, it was an okay trailer. It didn't make me more hyped for the film than I already was. I am still at the same point I am with this film, is that I am cautiously optimistic. Now, there's a lot of alarm bells ringing at the moment in this trailer for me. And like you, Tom, I just need to see the film to see it in context. Because the fact that Doctor Strange is just like, yeah, sure, I will help you erase everybody's memory that you are Peter Parker, doesn't seem like to me something that the Stephen Strange that we've come accustomed to in the MCU would do. That's just my take on the character anyway. But again, I need to see it in context, and I'm still dubious about them just trying to throw a lot at this film. Like, I'm still upset that we haven't got, now, as great as Tom Holland is, and I will say, I think he is my favorite live-action Spider-Man, of playing the character, of playing Peter Parker, the performance of him. I will say that he's my favorite, but I just don't like the trajectory the MCU have taken this Spider-Man, where he still really hasn't had a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man film. He's been in Avengers films, and the two films he's been in, his solo films, Homecoming more so, it did have a bit of that flavor, but Far From Home went away from that in a more epic scale. And this is just going one step further on top of all this big question about how he needs to prove that he's not Spider-Man. And I said to you, Tom, that give me a story about him trying to prove his innocence, him trying to prove that he's not Spider-Man, over a big multiversal story any day, and just have a singular villain that threatens that thing he's trying to accomplish of, you know, cleaning his name, essentially. But that's not the film we're getting. I have to deal with what we're getting. Not going to lie, I am excited about the prospect of Sinister Six. I love the nostalgia of seeing Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, seeing that pumpkin bomb, which is definitely the same pumpkin bomb that Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin has. That cackle is just so iconic. I know that cackle. That is Willem Dafoe. So I'm excited to see him come back. But I also feel as if this film just looks incredibly bland in a way. It feels like I've seen it before. It feels like a mixture of like Doctor Strange 2.0 with like Inception. And it's just nothing new, nothing original, nothing fresh compared to what we've seen with Shang-Chi and especially Eternals. This just seems like another generic MCU movie, another in their sort of back catalogue. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want it to be that. I want this to be this big, epic, multiversal adventure, but I'm just getting bad vibes from it. I just think they're trying to do too much with it. Not sure what they're doing with Strange, but I am excited with the Sinister Six. That's sort of where I go. I can see you shaking your head there, Stefanos. So go ahead. What am I getting wrong here?
No, like it's because I did hear a lot of several people saying about Strange. Why the hell is he doing this? But then I'm like, because he's an arrogant bastard. You kidding me? He was using the time stone all the fucking time, and everyone was telling him, "Don't use it," and he did use it multiple times. And of course, for me, like I can see, yeah, of course, he would just try to do this big magic to make everyone forget about who Peter is, because he would, because he's the kind of, because let's be honest, he didn't really change much in his first film. Like he got some level of being able to be selfless and actually, at the end to actually starting giving up. He prefers to be in the torment and death over and over again. Fair, but he still plays with his own egotistical, almost maniacal level of superiority. The fact that he can be the Messiah over and over again because I am better than you. And he did exactly the same thing with Tony, and like the whole arc, sort of, in Infinity War is just upping the one or the other, just showing off who is like the most intelligent or more powerful. So that part, I'm like, no, for me, like this is strange. This is just him, an arrogant bastard, playing with things he shouldn't be playing. But I do think there are some people who are already like kind of theorizing it. I think when he makes the spell, at that point he doesn't know about the multiverse. Like he knows about the second timeline being broken.
Okay.
I could easily just see, like, after he does this, the whole thing goes to like completely shit. He just says like maybe like some point is gonna say the timeline is broken, and like suddenly start realizing, oh shit, everything that before what I could do before, I can't do it again. So I seen like a TikTok of the moment where, sorry, Loki spoiler, when he who remains says we passed the threshold, and there's another clip of Wanda, the post credit scene, being with the Darkhold, and then the moment where Strange pushed the spell. Like those three events happen exactly at the same time. So I think that's what it is. But yes, like you guys already said, there's a lot of different factors. Obviously, the film obviously will explain everything, but I think the problem is the trailer didn't. Okay, the trailer shouldn't explain it. The trailer should just put us into the element of the feels of the film, how it is. But instead, it tried to actually give plot points, and you shouldn't do that. I mean, look at the Shang-Chi and Eternals, especially Eternals. Because Eternals, I have no idea what this film is actually about. Do I care though? No, because I actually have a feeling of how the film is. And I can see the filmmaking aspect of it. I mean, sure, this one does have, the great visual effects of the city folding together. But beyond that, we didn't actually have a moment to really connect to what the film's actually going to be. I do think it's going to be a lot better, mainly because it excites me that I have no idea which actual villains will be inside. I mean, we have ideas, obviously, and obviously the nostalgic part, which it does hit me a lot. Doc Ock, come on, Molina's a treasure, but beyond that, I do have an idea to where it could go. Like I do think we could go to multiverse of different New Yorks. And I think what you said before, I do agree that we haven't had a film of Spidey in New York protecting the neighborhood. I have a feeling this is going to be it. But what if like there's multiple neighborhoods and all these Sinister Six attacking that neighborhood? This is like his way of proving to everyone who he can be. And hopefully by the end of it, there's not going to be any persecution against him, because they're going to be like, yeah, obviously he's a good guy. He just fought this guy. We have no idea who he is, but he has tentacles. and the guy from the lighthouse who suddenly is on a thing on the boards just throwing bombs on everyone in New York. Man, that resonates well. So yeah, as you can, I am more optimistic, but mainly because I've had a history with Sony of of promoting stuff that they don't look good, but in the end, actually, are pretty good. And surprisingly, all of them are all the how's it called, the Jump Street films and Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I'm still optimistic for this film. I'm just cautious about it. You know what I mean? I'm just tempering my expectations about what we're going to actually see. Although, I mean, I will say this about Strange, though. I love his outfit of like the hoodie.
Yeah.
And then you got the cape on top
He's got
of
to
the...
keep the cape so it can fly. Because classic Strange.
And I do think when Dave mentioned that there could be two Strangers, having rewatched the trailer, I mean, this could be just me with that idea in my head and I'm seeing something that I want to see. But it does seem like, there's different scenes where he seems different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also question that scene on the train, where he's like folding. I don't know, but to me, it looks like he's fighting against Spider-Man there.
Yeah, I kind of got that on the second watch as well. And just as well, because there's that whole thing where initially, he's so happy to help Peter and he's just doing the spell. And then there's that one scene in the trailer, which looks like it takes place in the same place the spell happened, where Strange is then like having a go at Spider-Man and just being like, you've chosen to live this double life, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, wait a minute, well, just 2 seconds ago, you were happy to have... I mean, obviously, that's probably the way the trailer's cut. It might be like that happens towards the end of the film, and it's not. But yeah, I was getting some vibes from that. I've also seen some people theorize as well. There's that one scene, where obviously you got Peter's being interrogated by the cops, and then there's like that next bit it cuts to where he's like reading a file, and a guy in a shirt and a black tie like slams some files down. I've seen some people think like, oh, that could be Matt Murdock. Here's my theory. It's Foggy Nelson. We're not getting Daredevil yet, but we're getting Foggy Nelson to confirm that we will get Daredevil.
Oh, I can't remember the actor's name, but do we get Foggy Nelson from the Netflix
That's
show?
my theory, because I can't remember the actor's name either. But I think that's because I was rewatching the trailer and I was just like, it's hard to tell because like loads of people are saying like he looks a bit tubbier around like there, but I'm just like, well, no, he's wearing a white shirt. Those sometimes like just puff out, so I don't know. But I was looking in his arms and thinking, no, that could be Foggy Nelson maybe rather than...
Or it could just be the police officer in the room.
I mean, like the only reason I think it's not a police officer and maybe his lawyer is the fact that Peter's there like reading the files. I doubt a police officer would just come in with all the files they have on him and go, right, read all these. It's something a lawyer would do, but I don't know. That's just what I think.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't cop. It was, I think, FBI. An agent could do that.
Oh, maybe, but...
Because if it's like drones and shit, and sort of like, yeah, I could see this being NSA. So like
an agent of Sword, because he is,
I would like that.
It'd be like, look, Peter, that you fucked up. Like,
yeah, I don't think we can rule out the possibility of Nelson and or Murdoch appearance, just because I don't know. It's one of those things that's been heavily rumored. It might just be like fan circulation, but like sometimes there's a reason why these like rumors get so big. Is because there is a grain of truth with them. So I could imagine Foggy Nelson showing up, but I think that if that happens, like we're not going to get Daredevil quite yet. It'll just be like, here's Foggy Nelson. So now you know that we do have Daredevil in the MCU and he'll be coming at some point. Because otherwise, like I think that's throwing too much in the film if you just throw Daredevil in there. Or maybe we get neither of them and we're all talking shit and there's another Mephisto. And just anytime we see a man in a suit, we're like, it's Daredevil!
No, I don't think they're going to be in the film.
No.
Look, don't get me wrong. Daredevil is my boy.
Yeah.
Like he's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite Marvel hero ever. So I would love to see him in the MCU. And if they bring Charlie Cox back, abso-fucking-lutely. But... like I said, they're already throwing a lot at this film. If you just chuck in Daredevil, everyone's going to be like, oh, wait, what? Because he's only going to be in there for like a 2-minute scene. You know that as well.
That's all we need.
But
that is why I will never ever say myself that he is in there. Because if I say that even once and he's not in there, my heart will break again. So I'm not going to say that. But if they do have a character, a lawyer who will represent Peter, it should be She-Hulk.
That's the obvious choice, yeah.
I mean, the thing is they did cast Tatiana Maslany to play her way before production started for No Way Home. So it would make sense to kind of do the same thing we're doing with Abomination, Shang-Chi. We're going to have this, we introducing, or in case of Abomination, reintroduce that character for a couple of minutes. So then when we go back to She-Hulk, you would have an idea to who these people are.
That's a good point, because like Jonathan Majors' casting announcement as Kang came like very, very early, considering they were like, oh, he's coming in Ant-Man 3, which was like a 2022, 23 release. But his like casting announcement was like a year or two ago. Well, not like 2 years ago, maybe last year. But like, yeah. And the reason that was so early was because he was actually appearing in Loki. So yeah, it could be the same thing here, because like that is a very early casting announcement for She-Hulk. So I wouldn't rule it out. I think if we're going to be getting a famous MCU lawyer, I think I would put my money on Jen Walters, with Foggy Nelson coming in second, and then Matt Murdock a distant third.
But here's a question to both of you, because it is something that I did think about. Do you guys actually want to have the Sinister Six in this film? Or would you just be happy to have Doc Ock, Goblin, and Electro?
Well, who are the ones that we suppose? So we got Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro.
Those like this for sure.
Those are like the for sure ones.
Yeah. Oh no, but for sure. Because to be honest, I did see Lizard also, but the thing is with Lizard, I do think it might be just a scene. Like, because obviously I would imagine like they will need to have a scene if they do actually gonna have Garfield and Maguire. They will need to come in from a certain scene from the respective films. So I was thinking, for Garfield, I could see like jumping into a point in the first Amazing Spider-Man, like this is where we bring him in, and Lizard is just there for 2 minutes.
Oh no, change the no, don't go to that design. The amazing.
Oh no!
Change the design.
I don't think it's going to be the actual film. I think it's going to be a variant of the film.
Yeah,
I just don't think Lizard will be a villain per se.
Yeah, no, yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know. Because I'm still very. I don't know what Sony's deal is. What is their plan going forward?
They said we know.
Well, they've said after we see this film, it will be much clearer in the plan going forward for Sony. Yeah. Let's see. But I don't know is the answer, Steph. I'm still unsure how I feel about how the Sinister Six in this film and how they're going to be used going forward.
Because honestly, the vibe I'm getting is that whilst obviously the film will have some implications for the multiversal plot in the MCU, it does seem like it's being used way more for setting up Sony's universe, which I guess is like at least a clever way of doing it, just doing it in an MCU film. But it does make me then worried because, as we said, we don't know what their plans are. So if they're setting up this film to help with their plans and we don't like their plans, then we may not like this film. So I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe Cthulhu will be there.
He's the sixth member. Yes. Because here's the thing, like, obviously I want to have Sinister Six because it sounds dope as hell. But the fact is, like let's think about the Avengers films, right? They're actually starting doing it right for all the Avengers members. Endgame, to be honest, in Endgame, they actually, for me, that's I think the moment like each member got something, like an actual arc. And that was after half of them got erased by Thanos. So it's like, so obviously, so I don't know in a Spider-Man film to have 6 villains, each one of them great villains, absolutely great. You could each one could be it's their own solo film, but to have them all there and just be like, oh yeah, we're baddies, we hate Spider-Man, which is literally how Sinister Six were created in the first place. But I don't know if it will work in the film.
Well, here's how you get around it. It's just what they've done is just bring back original members that we're already familiar with.
Exactly, which is a good idea. It's very smart. but still, I'm still thinking as a story wise, and especially thinking that, oh yeah, we have Alfred Molina back, but for 15 minutes, you're not gonna have him again. Which I'm like, well, we go to the multiverse and I have one of my favorite villains for only 15 minutes. Hell nah.
It is my concern as well. I mean, if they're bringing Willem Dafoe back as Green Goblin, they gotta use as much as him as possible. They can't just make it a quick oh look, here he is, and now he's gone forever. You'll never see him again.
But this is the thing. Now, granted, there's stuntmen, there's visual effects and all that, but these actors are also no spring chickens. And I think if they want to have, if they want to move the Sinister Six forward, you might want to, have actors with a bit more steam in them, if you know what I mean, to do these more active roles. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Because they are,
yeah.
Especially like Willem Dafoe, he's getting on now, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, with Alfred Molina, you could escape with it because the limbs are doing all the work.
Yeah.
I mean, he could just move his chest right in front, like he can still do that. But yeah, no, Willem will be the one who will be the most demanding. But yeah, personally, I do think I will be happy just being the three villains, and that, to be honest, even that I think is a bit too much. But I hope there will be a good chemistry between Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx, and Willem Dafoe, because I never thought that I wanted that, but here we are.
Yeah, I'm definitely here for some Electro redemption as well, because I really feel like Amazing Spider-Man 2 did not do him justice. So yeah, I kind of hope it just sticks to that core three as the main villains, and maybe we just get quick scenes with Lizard, Sandman, blah blah blah. Because otherwise, it does scream of people going at Sony going, right, so we failed before with Spider-Man films by putting in too many villains, and then just going, right, you know what? Double the villains. That'll solve everything.
More villains is what we need.
If we throw in more villains, then yeah,
it'll solve everything.
So it'll cancel out the bad stuff. Genius.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the last thing I'll say, speaking on Electro, is that the only redemption I want from him is for him to have the star around his head.
Yes.
And that green outfit. If they just have if they can make Mysterio work, they can make that work. And I would love to see Jamie Foxx just in a star. His face, that would be hilarious. So please do that.
Oh, I would love that as well. Yeah, they may as well at this point. They're leaning into the camp and the silly a lot more. I mean, we got classic Loki. Come on, just
there we go.
Just be brave.
There we go. Do it. Like I said, you can do it.
No, you know what they'll do though? They'll do it in a way where it's like the sparks he naturally gives off just forms that kind of crown thing.
That's what I imagine.
That's lame.
You know they'll do it.
That's lame.
You know they'll do it, Jake.
Give him the fucking outfit. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's because of Jamie Foxx. I don't think it's gonna work on Jamie Foxx. I think it would have worked on someone else. But Foxx, I'm like, ugh.
Like Richard
It's
E.
because
Grant.
Jamie Foxx is I think too serious an actor, whereas Richard E. Grant knows how to have fun. I'm not saying Jamie Foxx doesn't know how to have fun, but just in his acting, he always seems a lot more serious. So imagining him in the Electro cowl. Actually, that just seems really funny. Him putting on this real emotion and pathos, but he's just got this stupid crap.
That's what I mean. It's such ironic contrast. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Listen, we should be happy that he's yellow. Plus, we should be happy with that.
Yeah, the fact that he was yellow lightning, I was just like, huzzah! Glorious.
Right. Was it that difficult?
Apparently
it was.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll see what happens. We got 17th of December. It's due to come out exclusively in cinemas, according to Sony. So we'll be there, and we'll be back here as well to review it. So, Tom, we're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to go into our weekly pull list.
Well, after X-Men hit at the box office, all the studios started buying up every comic property they could get their dirty little hands on.
So we got some quite fun pulls this week. Well, we'll start with DC. Just because the two picks from DC are from their two flagship titles. So starting off, we got Action Comics issue 1034, getting some more fun Superman stories. Things are building up. I think we're reaching the conclusion of the current arc, coming into the next. So I think you definitely want to pick it up, just because it has been quite interesting so far. Sticking with them with the other flagship title, we got Batman Detective Comics issue 1042, where Batman's fight with Jury comes to its conclusion, and the backup story features, I think it's called Who the Fuck is Task Force Z? So that story is ramping up. That's part 2 of that story. But I've been loving the stuff with Jury. He's just, I just love the fact he just looks like a gothic kingpin. That for me just makes me love him. So yes, for DC, that's Action Comics 1034 and Detective Comics 1042. Swinging over to Marvel then and keeping it fresh and relevant, we got Amazing Spider-Man issue 72. So the Sinister War has kicked off. This is a tie-in into that larger event. We are coming to the end of Spencer's run on Amazing Spider-Man. I'm quite sad at that because I have been enjoying it, even if the Kindred stuff has been dragged out maybe a little bit too much, but that's just my opinion. But the Sinister War is promising to be good. And it ties in with what we've been talking about today. So if you want some good Sinister Six action, this is what you want to check out. And then sticking with Marvel, we got Thor issue 16. Things between Thor and his father have been a bit tense recently, and it's kind of going to bubble over in this issue, with apparently going to see some revelations that threaten to uproot Thor's legacy, whatever the hell that means. But it's Donny Cates writing, so that usually promises good quality, so I definitely be picking that up. And then my poll for non-Marvel and DC comes from James Tynion IV. Something is Killing the Children. It's one of the best indie series going right now, and you can expect it probably to get better because JV4 is leaving DC to focus on his creator-owned content. So I imagine he's going to be pouring more stuff into this. And also, I think he's signed up a deal with Substack. Substack is definitely something people want to be checking out. The Hickman stuff that looks to be coming from that is very, very promising. So the whole list again, we got Action Comics 1034, Detective Comics 1042, Amazing Spider-Man issue 72, Thor issue 16, and Something is Killing the Children issue 19. And we're going to have some more polls now from our guest, Steph.
Right, this is first time I ever do this. I was trying to go through all my list, and to be honest, I haven't really read a lot of new comics for quite a long time. So I always go to some of my favorites, and if you know me at all, I like depressing shit. Like read the stuff that kind of gives you existential questions and really puts you in horror of the cruelty of life. And one of those I'm gonna really recommend right now is called Mouse, and that is spelled Maus. And if you don't know it, well, you're about to. Well, it's a graphic novel that started from 1980 to 1991, and it was written from the cartoonist Art Spiegelman. And basically, it's a very direct biography allegory about the Second World War and camps and Auschwitz, the cool stuff and
light reading then.
Yeah. The uniqueness of that is basically about Spiegelman interviewing his own father, and based on his own experience as a Polish Jew during the Holocaust. And from there, he kind of designed the whole thing to be a sort of, it's a biography, but also still an interview, but from the point of view of him as a child, which is, it's kind of like a combination of a really fucked up Alice in Wonderland and this documentary film from 2008, Volts with Basia, which was basically very similar format. It was basically an animated film with direct interviews from survivors of a certain humanitarian catastrophe. And in this case, or each depiction of each group will be an animal. The Jewish people will be mice, the Germans will be cats, and the Polish people will be pigs. Take that as you want. I'm not here to explain what it all means, but it is amazing. It is one of those things that's, especially when I read it, which I was around 13 to 14 years old, I was trying to understand what this thing was back then, and I was really taken by how this fucked up fairy tale really depicted the horrors of the time, and it's amazing. And beyond this story, it is beautifully drawn. It's one of those things that if you have removed all the historical elements, you could say it's an epic fairy tale about survival and friendship and family and love. It's about taking place during Auschwitz. So, and if that makes you feel any better, I read it at the same time when I watched Schindler's List.
Go.
I was a very hardcore teenager. But yeah, that is my recommendation. It's great. You can find it on any bookshop, to be honest. It has become one of those graphic novels that's put into equivalent with other novels, like Watchmen before it. It's an important piece of art, I would say. And watch Schindler's List too.
Well, yes.
But that's for another time.
I mean, I've watched Schindler's List once, and once is all I need. An amazing film. I don't need to watch it again. It's one of those. No, that's a fantastic pull. I can't believe we've actually never brought that up on the show before. Maybe for obvious reasons because of its dark context. But yeah, Mouse is one of those books where whenever you Google top comic books or any list, it's always on there. It's always in the conversation as one of the best graphic novels ever written and illustrated. Yeah, so that is a fantastic pull. Thanks for that, Steph.
No problem. That's why I'm here to reference all of the very depressing shit. I can't wait with Shang-Chi. I'm pretty sure I'll bring up something else depressing. I don't know what.
I mean, if you like dark, depressing things that like pose existential questions, then I'm going to have to recommend you a comic I mentioned on our last show, which is J. Michael Straczynski's Midnight Nation. I feel like that might be up your alley. So yeah.
No, I did hear you saying that last week, and I'm like, okay, this is going into the list. It's been a long time since I haven't read comic books, so why not?
And I will say, if you're going to pick up some new stuff, I will also add Tom's pulled Something is Killing the Children. That's a really, really good one to be picking up now.
Yeah, I heard about it. But yeah, I'm not going to say anything else because I'm afraid I'm going to go to something else depressing. But I do hope one day we're going to see a film adaptation of Mouse, because imagine that as an animated film. Oh,
that would be incredible.
Or a series. I would say a series. Pump that, give that Amazon Prime money like they did with Invincible.
Let it breathe.
Give that 45-minute episode runtime. Let's do it. Right, so yeah. Thank you, Steph, for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the show, listening to us geek out and nerd out over all this amazing stuff. But Steph, tell the listeners where they'll be able to find you online and what you're getting up to at the minute.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at SYFlorakis. I don't tweet much. Most of the times I just tweet whatever new thing I watch and I think is funny. Usually it's not funny. And a lot of retweets on trailers and posters. So if you want to be up to date with anything interesting or new or even a bit remotely possibly amazing, you could go to my Twitter and just see what I'm just retweeting. And from there, you can find my Letterboxd profile, which I basically make short comments or reviews on each film I watch this year. So far in my diary, I have, it's 333 films.
Damn. That's a lot of films. Mm-hmm. I thought I had watched a lot, but that's a lot of films.
Yeah, I need just a bit more than 30, and I'm going to have more films than actual days in the year.
Damn. That's pretty good going there. Tom, how about yourself? Are you watching 333 films this year?
I'm not watching 333 films this year. I may have already read that many comics this year, this month, this week. I don't know.
What is time?
I don't know what time is anymore. But if people want to know like what I'm getting up to and how I'm reacting to things, you can find me on Twitter at GapperBoy, GAPPERBOI. although I am managing the CCM Twitter page a lot recently, so I haven't been posting as much to my Twitter as I should be, but I will be posting a bit more. So yeah, just feel free to, as usual, engage with me, ask me questions, tell me why you think I'm wrong, and I will happily tell you why you're actually wrong. It's the Gappa guarantee.
That is the Gappa. I like that. The Gappa guarantee.
Yeah, flows off the tongue.
It does. Likewise, you can also find me on Twitter at SweatyJake, where, like Steph, I'm just retweeting a lot of trailers and geeking out at all the stuff coming out.
He's trying to win Justice League stuff. I saw your tweet.
I'm trying to win Justice League pops, but it's primarily June at the minute. Everything I seem to be talking about at the minute is June and talking to everybody about June because I can't wait for that fucking movie. But yes, but you can also catch me on Letterboxd at jcart, where I also give all my reviews and ratings of the films I'm watching. And as for the show, you can find and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Cowls Masks. And whether you use Anchor, Spotify, Apple, or Google, whatever, subscribe and follow us on there. And if you're on Apple, leave us a rating and a review, as it all helps us go up in the ranking. And check out all our other episodes. We've got our Suicide Squad review, our Black Widow review, Loki review, our 1-year anniversary show. Plenty of stuff to consume for you guys. And the best thing you can do as well is recommend us to all your geeky and nerdy friends and keep expanding the family of Capes, Cowls, and Masks. Yes. So thank you, Steph, once again for coming on. Thank you, listeners. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye now.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.